where Paul gives the Ephesian believers 3 different postures that mark out the entirety of our life. The first thing, after describing the glorious dynamics of redemption, is that believers are seated with Christ. It says in Ephesians 2 that we were under the wrath of God, but then because of the mercy of his kindness, he raised us up and seated us with him in Christ in the heavenly places. There's this amazing promise that every believer is seated with Christ. So seated. He then unpacks the glory of the gospel that makes Jew and Gentile one new body in the Messiah. Once we learn how to be seated with Christ, we learn, Ephesians 5, to walk in the manner of love. Be imitators of God, therefore, as dearly loved children, and walk in the way of love. So once we learn to grow and live out of our new identity in the gospel, being seated, we now learn to walk an entirely new life. It's an amazing promise. After we learn how to be seated and to walk, what's the next thing? Stand. In Ephesians 6, it says to stand firm then, because our struggle is not against flesh and blood. So, we're seated with Christ, we learn to walk in a manner of love, and then we learn how to stand and take our place in spiritual warfare to see the victory of Christ realized over the principalities and powers. I challenge you this week to read the book of Ephesians. We're seated, we're learning to walk, and we know how to stand because of the victory that is ours through Jesus Christ. Be encouraged this week.